on this course. Sorry for the others. Okay, so that's the sticky floor. Sticky floor. In the literature of gender discrimination, you know that these are literature, they are gender studies. Literature of gender discrimination, this concept of sticky floors complements the concept of a glass ceiling. Sticky floors can be described as a pattern that women are, compared to men, less likely to start to climb the job ladder. Thereby, the phenomenon is related to gender differentials at the bottom of the wage distribution. They found empirical evidence for the existence of sticky floors in many countries, different countries, such as Australia, Belgium, Italy, Thailand, and the United States, and in Argentina, and in Peru, isn't it, Luis? No. You know that 2 days ago, I attended something like this, but in Spanish, made up by a judge, a female judge, and she was explaining the suelo pegajoso, as she said, el suelo pegajoso, and she was explaining many things related to patriarchalism and gender studies, and they used suelo pegajoso as a concept in Spanish, and she used to exemplify with the idea of a woman having 1 or 2 children and the difficulties women face in order to get a promotion or get just a job because they have 1 or 2 children, or they are bound to have a child. Okay, that's sticky floor. Sticky floor, that's another concept. Another one, the frozen middle.
Perdón.
Yes.
¿Puedo? Acá.
Yes, tell me, the frozen middle.
No, como que no lo terminé de entender, en castellano, no lo terminé de entender el concepto.
Todos los conceptos son sobre el mismo tema, pero miran distintos, son como distintos colores o distintos matices en el mismo color sobre el mismo tema. Y miran distintos, o sea que uno podría decir, bueno, pero es lo mismo. Sí, bueno, es lo mismo, pero no es lo mismo. Es otro aspectito, otra cosita. Porque el sticky floor hace referencia a que te quedas pegado en la base, porque no podés ni siquiera empezar a veces ni a tener un trabajo o a veces ni a tener una promoción, porque algo te pega al piso. ¿Qué te pega al piso? Por ejemplo, clarísimo, yo con el tema de ser juez, yo hasta que no crié todos mis 4 hijos, no pude empezar a estudiar, recién pude estudiar bien a full, el 2010, ahí me pude poner con el profesorado de inglés y pude empezar y con la educación a distancia. La educación a distancia nos ha favorecido a las mujeres muchísimo. Pero si no, la mujer tiene el sticky floor total, no se puede despegar porque ¿qué haces con los niños? Y bueno, de ahí la importancia de que no sea que el marido ayude, sino que el marido y la mujer, los dos están a cargo. They are all together raising the children. The children are for them, for all of them, not only for the woman, and the man helps. The thing is that even though for instance, my husband used to be there for me and for the children all the time, but even though that happened, that it was a fortunate situation that not only happens, even though that happens, I only could start studying again in 2010 when I was more than 40 because of the sticky floor, because I had to raise the family. That's a sticky floor.
Perfect, thank you.
I think that the state and the organizations should take this into account and to make changes and adjustments, to foster women promotions. Okay, another concept on the same field is the frozen middle. The frozen middle is the same idea, but saying that women are always in the frozen middle. Whenever we have the luck to be there, to be with a job, we are going to be there stuck in the frozen middle. That's another idea. The frozen middle.
So you can never get to the top.
Yes, because it's difficult, because there's a glass ceiling, because there's another type of ladder. You have a ladder and not an escalator, because you get glued to your post there. So all the concepts relate to the same idea. But then the thing is that through this, we are learning new English expressions, even though they're not legal English, but they relate to gender studies that then become legal English. So the frozen middle, similar to a sticky floor, the frozen middle describes the phenomenon of women's progress up the corporate ladder, slowing, if not halting, in the ranks of middle management. So they have to be, that's the idea of the frozen middle. So that's why I think that the headmaster of Luis is so important, that she got promoted to the upper post. So I'm so proud of you, Luis, and your organization. Okay.
Yes.
The frozen
I
middle.
think that
Yes.
I think this woman broke out, sería rompió las
Yes,
barreras.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And,
And she broke out
failing.
broke out the glass ceiling, and she got promoted.
Yes, and sticky floor.
And the sticky, and she got rid of the sticky floor. The sticky floor.
Yes.
Another one, the second shift. The second shift is the idea of that you have to work a second shift whenever you get to your home. Yes. So the second shift. The second shift focuses on the idea that women theoretically work a second shift in the manner of having a greater workload, not just doing a great share of domestic work. All of the tasks that are engaged in outside of the workplace are mainly tied to motherhood. And that's another idea, that all of the tasks and the posts that you get are for women, nurses, teachers, or I don't know, everything related to education, to caring for people. But for instance, there are not chauffeurs, they are not builders, because they are not tasks for women. That's another idea of tasks for women and tasks for men.
Yes, there used to be more female psychologists too before. Now there are more male psychologists, but that was for women before.
Okay, that's another idea of differentiating. So the second shift. And mommy truck, that's another term. Mommy truck means that you make your mommy idea or your mommy career your career. You, for instance, I am a lawyer and I am also a mother. If I choose only to be a mother, I will follow my mommy truck, the mommy truck, because I got glued to my family and to the home tasks. So I get my promotion as a mommy, and just that, the mommy truck. That's another expression, mommy truck. Mommy truck is a term used to describe women who simply disregard their career and professional duties in order to satisfy the needs of their families. Women are often subject to long work hours that creates an imbalance within the work-family schedule. There is research suggesting that women were able to function on a part-time professional schedule compared to others who worked full-time while still engaged in external family activities. From the mommy truck comes the idea of that women should only have part-time jobs, sorry, because women are so engaged in their families' activities that they cannot go through a greater job. So that's mommy truck. That's a frame of mind, in fact. It's not only a concept. Some women have this frame of mind, mommy truck. So that's it, I think. It's the seventh and the last one. Yeah, so all of these aspects are related to this glass ceiling concept. And all of them are inside this paper. Let's see the paper. This paper that is uploaded on the platform, this glass ceiling concept, you know? So that was the third part. So we go through the fourth part, gender studies. You know that when I started this part, I said, well, is or are? Is singular or is plural? And in fact, gender studies is plural and it's singular. And you may say, this is a gender studies, or you may say, all of these are, this, and this are gender studies, because it's singular and it's plural. So funny. For me, it's funny because it's new for me. So it's so important, so important gender studies are that, for instance, you have a dictionary of gender studies from Oxford, and this is a whole field in the sociology, history, and all kinds of fields, not only sociology. For instance, gender studies, you may encounter gender studies as regards law, as regards economy, many different aspects. And I think it's great. Gender studies. The noun gender studies is uncountable. The plural form of gender studies is also gender studies. Okay. So who may read? Angeles, you should read the first paragraph at least, please.
Yes. Gender studies. Gender studies is an interdisciplinary academic field devoted to analyzing gender identity and gender representation. It includes women's studies concerning women, feminism, gender, and politics, men's studies, and queer studies. Its rise to prominence, especially in Western universities after 1990, has been noted as a success of deconstructionism. Sometimes gender studies is offered together with the study of sexuality.
Okay, Marcela.
Here, I was muted, sorry.
Yeah.
These disciplines study gender and sexuality in the fields of literature, linguistics, human geography, history, political science, archaeology, economics, sociology, psychology, anthropology, cinema, musicology, media studies, human development, law, public health, and medicine. It also analyzes how race, ethnicity, location, class, nationality, and disability intersect with the categories of gender and sexuality.
What is categories?
Categories, yeah.
Categories.
It's categories.
Categories. Yes.
Yes.
Well,
categories.
here I would like to underline this term. Intersect. You know that I have made some speeches related to mobbing or acoso laboral, so harassment, and harassment in relation to gender studies or in relation to, como le decimos acá, no me sale porque lo tengo que decir en español, acoso laboral con perspectiva de género. I made at least 2 or 3 speeches and I delivered some courses, and I actually nowadays I'm delivering a course related to employment law and perspectiva de género. The thing is that the idea of intersect is quite important, because nowadays not only you study that women are being discriminated, but that also some aspects intersect with the idea of women and grupos LGTB, LGTB groups. Yes, and the idea is that you not only are being discriminated because you are, for instance, gay or a woman, but you are discriminated because of the color of your skin, or your nationality, or what your beliefs are. And in one of the books that I studied, it said that, for instance, a gay person but has a lot of money, it probably is not going to be discriminated in the same way that a gay person that is poor, because it intersects the economic condition intersects with your sexual orientation. So it's not just sexual orientation, but also your situation, economic situation, or whether you have a disability or not. Because, for instance, a woman is not going to be discriminated in the same way that a woman with 2 kids or a woman with a disability is going to be discriminated. So that's intersection, and that's quite important. And that, we lawyers have to bear this in mind, because probably people say, well, but our constitution says, for instance, Luis, I inform you, our constitution says in paragraph 16 says that all people are equal in Argentina. All people are equal, there's no distinction. Yes, but the thing is that there are distinctions. There are distinctions between men and women, and between people with disability, or people that are gay, or people that are poor, or people that have no work, and the other people that have a job. So you regard these people in a different way. So these other aspects intersect with gender and with sexual orientation. It's not just gender and sexual orientation, it's the intersection with location, class, nationality, ethnicity, etc. So nowadays están afinando el estudio y diciendo, no solo vamos a discriminar, a ver la discriminación solo por esto, sino también por esto otro. No me pueden decir que es todo lo mismo. So it's quite important. I love these studies. So this is another material from the classroom that I uploaded today. And this is taken from the European Union. And this is more or less a manual or a dictionary. In one part, because it's somehow a dictionary. And in this part, it talks about gender blind, gender neutral, gender sensitive, gender transformative. So these are expressions and they define them. You may find it on the platform. And you should not do anything with that. It's just for you to have it, as many books that I provide you with. Well, okay. And I love this idea of gender blind. Sometimes you may become gender blind. You don't regard that there are gender biases. Biases, what are biases? Who can tell me what a bias is? Diego?
What a bias is?
Yes, what a bias is. What is a bias? No? Who else? Laura, you know that? Bias.
Bias.
Yes, se escribe bias. Bias. No? Who can tell me?
I can't find it in the text.
Okay, Tatiana, you know that? Tatiana?
Yes, when some gender is more o es inequal, digamos, es cierta...
Haciendo lo que hacía el juez, me parece. Está sacando la guitarra. Ay, yo les voy a buscar el video, se los voy a mandar. El juez diciendo, bueno, el techo de cristal es cuando tenés una... bueno, ay, no, te da cosa verlo, el pobre Tom. Y capaz que va a ser juez el hombre. Bueno, bias. Ángeles, what is bias?
I think it's an inclination towards a certain group or belief.
Yes, yes. Another term that is funny and is new and is related to the field is bigotry, isn't it, Angeles? Bigotry?
Yes.
And is it well pronounced, bigotry, or what?
As far as I'm concerned, it is. I'm going to look it up, but as far as I'm concerned, it is.
Bigotry is?
I'm sorry.
Bias. Yes.
Bias?
Yes, bias.
What is, I couldn't get.
Bias. Bias is your inclination, internal, es tu prejuicio interno. Que vos estás leyendo algo con bias, con prejuicio. Pero ni siquiera lo sabes, porque lo tenés incorporado. That's bias. No sos malicioso. Ok, so bigotry.
Porque es cultural, o sea, porque es la
idea
de
es como
que...
cultural, eso es bias. Pero bigotry es como más malicioso todavía. A ver, ¿alguno que lea bigotry? Bigotry. parece que dijera bigote, bigotry. Anyone?
I'm sorry, do you want an example or do you want us to
No.
read some?
Somebody who reads what bigotry is.
I can find it in the text.
Okay,
It's like fan, when you're a fan
a fan.
and you're blinded by a belief.
Yes, you have a belief and you are a fan of this belief and you cannot listen to the other people's idea. Bigot, and you fanatismo en contra de alguien y de algo y que bigotry generates bias also. Yes? Bigotry.
Sorry, bias.
Gravemente, bigotry. What? Tatiana?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Bigotry.
Bias is something. Es algo en pensamiento cultural, no es una política, digamos.
No, podría ser político. Pero lo tenés en la cabeza, sí, y no te das cuenta, lo haces sin querer. Y tenés bias. Tenés bias y qué sé yo. Sobre todo, por ejemplo, el que tenga una idea política va a tener un bias against something or pro something. Y idea religiosa le va a pasar lo mismo probablemente. Bias. Es
And
tener...
that's usually
¿Y cómo?
journalism,
What?
like bias journalism. When we
Yes.
talk about a certain journalist,
Yes, in journalism. And they used to say that journalists are not objective. When they say they are objective, they are not biased. Sometimes. I think that, como dice las feministas, todo lo privado es público. And I think that politically neutral does not exist. I think that every time you say something, you are political. Even though you are not political, that is political also. Well, the thing is that sometimes you are so biased that you try to influence, that's another idea, try to influence the other people. To be biased because you try to influence the thoughts of other people. So bias and bigotry, that's another term.
So both are nouns.
Bias, yes, and bigotry.
Nouns, so you are biased. No, you have bias. No, you
Yes,
are.
but you may use it as ¿cómo se dice? Un participio, because you say, oh, he's so biased, un participio o adjetivo. Es tan prejuicioso, biased. Okay. So then you should go for the document that is uploaded on the platform, this document, the material for you. Another thing, let's analyze the abstract of this paper, because this paper is also uploaded on the platform. This paper is Gender Equality and Gender Neutral Laws, the future of social justice in India. It's an example of a paper from India. So it says, Diego, would you like to read?
Okay. After the infamous Delhi gang rape incident that took place in the country in the year 2012, there was a dire need to condemn and make stricter laws against such crimes against women. The government constituted a committee under the chairmanship of the former Chief Justice of India, Justice J.C. Barma, to suggest guidelines for the protection of women, and this was due to take shape in the form of the Criminal Law Amendment Act 2013.
Yeah.
The recommendation of the committee were, however, not taken into consideration as a whole, and gender-sensitive or gender-specific law were framed as a result of bowing down the feminist pressures opposing the gender-neutral laws that they were recommended by the committee.
Well, who can tell me something related to the para? Who can say, well, in 2 or 3 words, I think that it tells this thing. Take your time.
It basically says that even so they form a committee, there was no taking, they didn't take care of what it says because they thought it was because of the pressure of the feminists.
Yes, yes. And what did the committee say? Do you know? The committee recommendations? It doesn't say. So I think that in the next paragraph it says, for instance, no, it doesn't say. Well, the thing is that I think that the committee made a report saying that they should use neutral terminology as regards men and women, and they should not make any distinction between. Some people say this the same. For instance, I teach Internacional Público at the university, and I am an adjunta. My head teacher, el titular, all the time says that, well, the thing is that you should not apply any distinction between laws as regards women and men, because we are equal, he says, we are equal. And the thing is that that's gender neutral. That's the gender neutral idea. The thing is that we're equal, and we have been equals up to this point, and feminist assassinations and crimes against women are seen all the time, and violence against women. I think that we need changes. We should not remain gender neutral. That's one idea of some people that say, well, el artículo 16 de la Constitución dice que somos todos iguales, ¿para qué hacer ninguna distinción? And I think that the committee there said the same. And because of the feminists that made some pressures, miren esta expresión, they vote down to feminist pressures. Me encanta eso, se tuvieron que vote down, le tuvieron que hacer una reverencia, vote down. Tuvieron que aceptar, tuvieron que, as a result of bowing down to feminist pressures, they had to change the law. The thing is that in this abstract, it talks about the infamous Delhi gang rape incident. And later on, we are going to go through an activity related to the Delhi gang rape incident. This is the watching activity for today. The Delhi gang rape incident from 2012. Yes? Well, the thing is that this is the document that is uploaded also on the platform, Gender Equality, etc., from India. And you have the document there. And I only want you to read the abstract because it's quite long. And at least read the abstract and take this particular terminology that you may encounter there. Yes, for gender equality, yes, and very specific academic English is better for you also. Okay, the author, in the light of recent judgments of the Supreme Court of India, that's another judgment, not the case of the New Delhi gang rape incident, another one, tries to examine the loopholes. Who wants to say what a loophole is? Remember loophole? In the first class, I talked about that, the loophole. What is a loophole? ¿Alguien se acuerda? A loophole? Well, okay. You know that in the first class, I told you a saying. The saying is, every law has its loophole. Cada ley tiene su laguna. O, como diríamos nosotros en español, echa la ley, echa la trampa. Cuando hacemos una ley, siempre le encontramos la vuelta. So, every law has a loophole. That's the saying. So, a loophole es una laguna en el derecho. So tries to examine the loopholes in the women protection laws in India that are gender specific and penalizes only the male gender that does not give equal protection to a male gender with respect to the same crimes being committed against them. Entonces el autor les va a hablar de que en realidad también quisiera que se acometiera o se condenara de la misma manera los crímenes ejercidos contra los hombres, no solo contra las mujeres. The author, throughout this article, shows forth how these recent judgments have set the ball rolling, esa es otra expresión, ¿ven? Otro idiom, have set the ball rolling towards having laws that are gender neutral in India, owing to bestowing equal rights on women, which will pave way towards attaining equality and social justice. Todo eso está en el abstract del paper que está subido. A mí me gustaría que lean el abstract y le saquen el jugo y me digan qué términos nuevos pueden sacar de ahí que les puedan servir, no solo para el legal English, pero también para el inglés académico, un inglés que les pueda servir para hacer un paper más adelante. No solo de inglés legal, sino, no sé, una cosa académica, más seria. Okay, so now we go to the New Delhi case. Do you all have your paper that I sent you through the WhatsApp group? ¿Lo pudieron bajar? ¿Lo tienen a mano?
Yes.
Excelente.
Yes.
Entonces,
Yes, yes.
muy bien. Entonces ahora creo que lo tengo detrás. Veamos. Let's see. Esto no. Esto ya está. Esto ya está. Ok, ahora me acuerdo que le tengo que poner. ¿Cómo era? New share. Acá. Share sound. Está. Y muy bien. Me van a decir si escuchan, ¿eh? A ver. ¿Escuchan?
No.
No, not yet.
¿No? Ok.
No,
Ahora de nuevo. ¿Ves que no se puso? Mira. Ahora, a ver.
assault her,
Ahora.
and then they left her
Yeah.
on the
Ahora sí,
side of the
okay.
road, and gang
So,
rape
let's
that
see,
took
let's
place
see.
in New Delhi.
No,
In
vamos a
fact,
poner del principio. Bueno, no, primero
back in
hagamos,
2012, there was
primero leamos un poquito en qué consiste la actividad. Okay, let's see. Now we try the video listening activity. So you have the first question is just to fill in the gap. The video refers to a brutal something that took place in New what? Let's guess.
Delhi.
New Delhi.
Delhi.
Ah, ya está. La primera está. In New Delhi. Well, and then all of them are true, false, true, false, true, false, true, false. They're easy. Luis, haceme saber si tenés algún inconveniente. Míralo bien. Míralo bien, ¿dónde está? Te estoy buscando tu fotito que no te encuentro. No te encuentro. Luis. You're there.
I'm here.
Okay. So, you know, state whether this is true or false. Todo el tiempo va a decir así. Digan si es true or false. Digan si es verdadero o falso. Entonces, vamos a leer las frases. A 24-year-old girl was raped on a bus. Let's see. No se adelanten, porque tienen que escuchar qué dice la mujer. A 24-year-old girl was... Esto es para ejercitar el listening. Así que no es solo por cuestión de inglés legal. Es para ejercitar el listening. A 24-year-old girl was raped on a bus. Otra, igual. The rapist actually used an iron rod to assault her. Otra. They left her on a side of the road and she died immediately. Let's see. Another one. Mukesh Singh is featured in a documentary because he's her brother. Vamos a ver si es verdadero o falso. Is he her brother? Let's see. Mukesh Singh es el nombre. Another one. Mukesh Singh defends the position of the girl and blames on the rapist. Or takes the blame on the rapist. I don't know. The blames the rapist. Okay, está bien. Blames the rapist. No sé si es verdad o no. Mukesh Singh defends the position of the girl and blames the rapist. Todo esto está en el papel que les pasé. Y esta es la última que no es verdadero o falso, que es who says. It's the lack of remorse that's chilling. Eso lo dice alguien. ¿Quién lo dice? Anna Kasparian. Son dos periodistas. Anna Kasparian and Sent Uyghur. Uyghur. Who says so? Anna Kasparian or Sent Uyghur? Let's see. Bueno, ahora sí. ¿Lo tienen todo? ¿Lo vieron? Ahora sí lo vamos a ver nuevamente. Let's see. Vamos a poner ahí. Y me van a decir también si escuchan bien. Esperen. Vamos a poner más fuerte. Ahí. Ahí.
A brutal gang rape that took place in New Delhi. In fact, a 23-year-old girl was raped on a bus, and the rapists actually used an iron rod to assault her, and then they left her on the side of the road, and she died 2 weeks later due to internal injuries. Now, one of the men who was convicted in this brutal gang rape, a guy by the name of Mukesh Singh, is featured in a documentary about this incident, right? And he has been convicted. He is sentenced to death, basically. He got the death penalty as a result of what he did. And he's basically blaming the rape on the woman. Here's what he had to say about it. A girl is far more responsible for rape than a boy. A decent girl won't roam around at 9 o'clock at night. Housework and housekeeping is for girls, not roaming in discos and bars at night, doing wrong things, wearing wrong clothes. Now, the rape happened around 9 o'clock at night. She was tricked into getting on the bus. She thought the bus was going to take her home. And then the men on the bus proceeded to take turns raping her. He also said that she wouldn't have died if she didn't fight back. Apparently, she was fighting back, and he's like, look, it was her fault for fighting back. She should have just taken it, and then, you know, maybe we wouldn't have killed her.
So she had a boyfriend with her too. If we don't know what the relation was, but it was a friend who was male, and they, you know, severely assaulted him and then raped her, and so they said, well, you shouldn't have been out with him or anybody at 9 o'clock this way. So now I find this story interesting for a couple of reasons. One, you will have people saying less raw versions of this in politics.
Of course,
and
yes.
Whether it's in India, whether it's in Middle Eastern countries or in the US, right? You'll have people saying, well, like on Fox News recently, Stacey Dash said, well, if they weren't naughty girls, they wouldn't have gotten into trouble in the first place.
Yep.
But so those thought leaders, such as they are, God help us all, influence guys like this. It reminded me in some bizarre way of Putin, because Putin, he doesn't go out and assassinate a political opponent. He allows an atmosphere in which vigilantes roam the land, right? And then goes, oh, golly gee, what could I do? That's why Pussy Riot supporters will be beaten by guys en masse, and then he won't do anything about it, sending a clear message. So when politicians say, hey, the girls kind of had it coming, it empowers idiots like this on the ground level to do what they do. He just puts it in a more, I mean, it's hideously honest way where he says, I don't know, this is what we believe, so this is what I did.
Yeah.
But when you hear it in its real form, I mean, it's chilling, right?
I think it's the lack of remorse that's chilling. Like the fact that he has convinced himself that what he did wasn't wrong. And he has this idea, by the way, like his comments shouldn't just be insulting to women, right? They should also be insulting to men, especially considering the fact that he is making a statement that men are all animals that can't control themselves. And so, yeah, if a woman is on the streets at 9 o'clock at night, of course we're gonna rape her. That's how us men are. It's disgusting.
And the horrible irony of him saying, well, she was doing wrong things. No, you fucking animal. You were doing wrong things. They went out to a movie and they were trying to get a bus home. And you gang raped her and then you used the rod until she had internal bleeding and died later in the hospital. And then he says, well, you know what? To add one more insult to already hideous injury. He says, oh, you shouldn't punish me that severely. Because if you do, it'll motivate the other rapists to just kill their victims immediately. You did kill her. Yeah, but she died later in the hospital. If we'd known that, you know, that we were going to get such, you know, harsh punishment, we would have killed her immediately so she couldn't identify us at all. It's stunning.
So there's a question as to whether or not people like this should have any voice at all, whether or not they should have any platform to speak on. And, you know, he is featured in the documentary India's Daughter. And I think that they should, right? Not because I agree with what he has to say. Obviously, I don't. But I think it's important to understand the psychology behind people like this.
No, that's why honest and open discussion is important. There's no sense in hiding the truth. Some people feel this way. That's why they act this way. It's important to know where they stand so that we can learn how to fight back against it. And I'm telling you, this guy, you know, he is the worst embodiment of this ideology. But some shades of this ideology roam the land. And it's not just in India, it's also here in the US. When they blame the victim and they find no irony in the fact that the rapist is the one who's actually the person doing horrible things as they continue to blame the poor girl who got raped.
Okay. Could you grasp the meaning of the parts and the answer to our questions? Is it interesting for you? It's awful.
Yeah,
I know. The topic is awful. I think it's awful. But I think that probably in no English lesson, you are going to watch this type of videos that are very harsh. But this is related to women's rights. That's why I put it on. Well, what if we try to get the answers?
They speak very fast.
Yes, that's why in the second part I put the subtitles on. Would you like to watch it again if you want or not? I think that if you watch again, you should grasp the meaning fastly and better, in a better way.
Yes, repeat, please. Yes.
Repeat it. At least up to minute 3. I think minute 3 is okay.
Yeah.
Up to minute 3.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see.
2012, there was a brutal gang rape that took place in New Delhi. In fact, a 23-year-old girl was raped on a bus, and the rapists actually used an iron rod to assault her, and then they left her on the side of the road, and she died 2 weeks later due to internal injuries. Now, one of the men who was convicted in this brutal gang rape, a guy by the name of Mukesh Singh, is featured in a documentary about this incident, right? And he has been convicted. He is sentenced to death, basically. He got the death penalty as a result of what he did. And he's basically blaming the rape on the woman. Here's what he had to say about it. A girl is far more responsible for rape than a boy. A decent girl won't roam around at 9 o'clock at night. Housework and housekeeping is for girls, not roaming in discos and bars at night, doing wrong things, wearing wrong clothes. Now, the rape happened around 9 o'clock at night. She was tricked into getting on the bus. She thought the bus was going to take her home. And then the men on the bus proceeded to take turns raping her. He also said that she wouldn't have died if she didn't fight back. Apparently, she was fighting back, and he's like, look, it was her fault for fighting back. She should have just taken it, and then, you know, maybe we wouldn't have killed her.
So she had a boyfriend with her too. If we don't know what the relation was, but it was a friend who was male, and they, you know, severely assaulted him and then raped her, and so they said, well, you shouldn't have been out with him or anybody at 9 o'clock this way. So now I find this story interesting for a couple of reasons. One, you will have people saying less raw versions of this in politics.
Of course,
and
yes.
Whether it's in India, whether it's in Middle Eastern countries or in the US, right? You'll have people saying, well, like on Fox News recently, Stacey Dash said, well, if they weren't naughty girls, they wouldn't have gotten into trouble in the first
Sorry.
Yep.
But so those thought leaders, such as they are, God help us all, influence guys like this. It reminded me in some bizarre way of Putin, because Putin, he doesn't go out and assassinate a political opponent. He allows an atmosphere in which vigilantes roam the land, right? And then goes, oh, golly gee, what could I do? That's why Pussy Riot supporters will be beaten by guys en masse, and then he won't do anything about it, sending a clear message. So when politicians say, hey, the girls kind of had it coming, it empowers idiots like this on the ground level to do what they do. He just puts it in a more, I mean, it's hideously honest way where he says, I don't know, this is what we believe, so this is what I did.
Yeah.
But when you hear it in its real form, I mean, it's chilling, right?
I think it's the lack of remorse that's chilling. Like the fact that he has convinced himself that what he did wasn't wrong. And he has this idea, by the way, like his comments shouldn't just be insulting to women, right? They should also be insulting to men, especially considering the fact that he is making a statement that men are all animals that can't control themselves. And so, yeah, if a woman is on the streets at 9 o'clock at night, of course we're gonna rape her. That's how us men are. It's disgusting.
And the horrible irony of him saying,
Okay. Terrible.
Está indignada.
Sí, que yo también. Okay, stop sharing. Well, okay, let's go through the activity, if we may, if we can. Let's see, estoy sacando fotitos. Espera, ahí está. Otra fotito, a ver, sonrían. Ah. Otra fotito. Okay. Para como es sacarnos la mala onda encima de semejante tema. ¿Qué tema? ¿Qué tema? Pero, ¿ustedes sabían de eso? Algo dijeron hace años, pero yo siempre vivo en una maceta, así que nunca me entero de nada, pero bueno.
I live in the Tupperware.
Yes, in a Tupperware.
We already have enough with our own news.
Yes, our own news. Yes, you're so right. Yes.
I knew the case, but I didn't know the details.
Okay. And the detail, the new detail is that they were found guilty of charge and they were hanged. They were 4 people and they were convicted.
Terrible.
And they were open on rooms. I don't know why I should say, okay, open on rooms. No sé, me pone un coso acá que dice open all rooms. Okay, le pongo open all rooms. Close all the rooms. I don't know. Okay. Well, what you do? You have the sheet of paper in order to correct. Maria, Griselda.
Hello.
How are you today?
Hello.
Okay. ¿Cómo están? ¿Bien?
Bien, bien.
Okay. Bueno, Vanessa. Okay. Okay. We are going to correct the answers.
Hello.
Hello, how are you today? Again, vamos a ver, esperen que corregir.
Sorry, I'm problem with the connection.
You? Who? Ah, okay, Vanessa, how are you? Fine. Vamos a ver si puedo corregir esta actividad que teníamos. Esperen que la corremos para acá, la cuento para acá, pongo el PowerPoint. Ahí está. Ok. Espérense, chicas, y ya hacemos la conclusión con ustedes. Answer the following question. The video refers to a brutal
Gang rape.
Gang rape.
that took place in.
A bus.
Sí, puede ser in a bus, pero me parece que se refería en 2012.
2012.
Yes, 2012 in New Delhi. Okay.
Delhi.
Yes.
Okay. State whether it is true or false. A 24-year-old girl was raped on a bus. Is it true?
False.
¿Por qué? False. ¿Por qué?
23.
Okay. Excellent. El otro. The rapist actually used an iron rod to assault her. Is it true?
Yeah, true.
True. Okay. Another one. They left her on a side of the road and she died immediately.
False.
False. Why is it false?
She died 2 weeks.
2 weeks ago, yes. And that was another part of the irony, because one of the rapists said something. What did he say about that?
If we knew she wouldn't die, we killed her immediately, so she didn't recognize us.
Yes, that's it. That's the irony of the situation. Mukesh Singh is featured in a documentary because he's her brother. Is it true or false?
I think it's false.
False.
It's
Why?
false.
Why?
False.
Why?
He was one of the rapists.
one of the rapists. Mukasey defends the position of the girl and blames the rapists.
No.
No,
False.
false, quite false. One of the rapists has said, look, it's, le falta la S, it's her fault for not fighting back.
No, false.
True.
I think it's false.
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 Is it false?
Yes, because she fought back. I think he said
Yes.
it's
Fall
her
back.
fighting back for
I think that he said it's her fault because of fighting back. Because of fighting back,
Yeah.
she got killed, I think, or more or less. Sen Uyghur, the male journalist, said that the girl was alone on the bus. Is it true?
False.
False. Why?
False.
Why?
It was a
She was
friend
with a
with
boyfriend or a male
Okay.
friend.
Yes, yes. So Sen Uyghur says that this situation may happen in other places on the planet. Of the planet.
True.
True. He says
True.
that will happen anywhere. And
on the
who
ground.
says it's the lack of the remorse that's chilling?
Ana?
Ana
Ana.
Ana.
Yes, yes. Excellent. Muy bien. María, ¿vos también lo escuchaste? ¿Estabas ahí? ¿Estaban ahí?
Claro.
Ay, buenísimo. No sabía que estaban ahí las chicas de seminario. ¿Dónde están? ¿Están María y Griselda? ¿Dónde está
Griselda.
Griselda está en lo oscuro. En lo oscuro. Y Daniela también en lo oscuro. ¿Qué pasó? Se les fue la cámara. Ahí está. Griselda, ¿pudiste hacer también la actividad? Griselda, ¿qué pasó? Uy. Se le va la cámara, me parece. Griselda, ¿pudiste hacer la actividad?
Se me cortó internet, volví.
Ah, perdón. Could you grasp the meaning of the video? Could you do the activity? ¿Pudiste hacer la actividad del video? ¿No?
Yes.
Porque si no, te lo mando, porque es interesante para, no sé, interesante.
Ah, okay.
Depende
I
de...
don't,
Yes, tell me.
I don't understand. I only understand the brutal gang, but I don't speak them words.
The words of who?
De algo de pandillas y no entendí qué de
The
pandillas.
gang rape. The gang rape.
Right. Ah,
Gang rape.
no.
Gang. Como gangster, ¿viste los gangster? Pero este es gang.
Sí.
Gang rape. Gang rape. Bueno, muy bien. A las chicas del seminario, ya que están, después les mando la actividad y el sitio para que si quieren verlo. Que habla de una violación en grupo. Acá le dicen horriblemente, le dicen...
En manada.
Claro, pero viste, yo soy del grupo de los animalistas, y dicen los animalistas que porque dicen en manada, que los animales no son así, no hacen así en manada las violaciones, y entonces es como hablar mal de los animales, por consecuencia. O los animalistas odian que digan que es violación en manada. Bueno, pero acá le dicen violación en manada, horrible. Ok, bueno, ese era otro caso que les quería traer, que también era sobre los derechos de la mujer, on women's rights, on the Cedaw Convention, y con esto terminamos esta semana todo lo referente a la unidad 3 de los derechos de la mujer. Y la semana que viene comenzaremos los derechos del niño. Rights of the child. Se dice así, the rights of the child. No se dice the rights of the children, sino rights of the child, como los derechos del niño. Acá en Argentina le decimos niños, niñas y adolescentes. Así que, bueno, muchas gracias. A ver, son las 7:46, creo que podemos dar, ¿cómo es que le decía mi profe de allá en el instituto? Le decía, call it a day. We may call it a day. Porque estamos cansados, porque es viernes. Gracias, Daniela. Gracias por todo siempre. ¿Estuvieron bien en la clase hoy?
Sí, muy bien.
Ok.
Todo
Bueno,
bien.
muy bien. Bueno, entonces vamos para adelante. Recuerden que, bueno, la medida que puedan, la gente de Diplomatura tiene que seguir haciendo las actividades. En algún momento va a venir un pequeño examen multiple choice, para la gente de Diplomatura, y teóricamente para seminario también. Y entonces, seminario 1 sigue con Daniela Zavala en sus clases, y seminario 2 y 3, por ahora sigue con el magnífico profesor Tomás Costanzo. ¿Ok? Diego, espero que la hayas pasado bien hoy, que fue tu primera clase online. Y bueno,
Sí, gracias por todo.
y Diego se va a sumar para tratar de recuperar y de ejercitar con una chica que se llama Silvana, que no la veo acá, pero bueno, ahí vos ponete en contacto, Diego, para poder
Sí, sí.
meterle para adelante. Bueno, muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Gracias,
Gracias.
María.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Gracias, Luis. Gracias,
Chao.
Bye. Have a nice weekend, everyone.
See
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Nos vemos. Bye bye.